The causeway is gone now. I watched the last strip of gravel disappear under the gray water an hour ago. It happened silently. There is no crashing of waves here, no dramatic spray of foam against rock. The water simply rises, swelling like a lung taking in a breath, until the road to the mainland is erased. I am alone at the Blackwood house. My employer called it an archiving job. He told me the estate needed to be catalogued before the Marsh finally reclaimed the foundation. He spoke of rare books, antique furniture, and biological specimens left behind by the previous tenant, a man named Silas Vance. I was to record everything, pack the smaller items, and leave before the neap tide made the road impassable for the season. That was 3 days ago. The silence of this place is heavy. It presses against the eardrums. It is not an empty silence, but a full one, packed with the damp weight of the salt air. The house stands on wooden stilts driven deep into the mud, and at night the mud shifts. I can hear the pilings groan, a sound like old bones grinding together. I began my work in the study. It is a windowless room in the center of the house, lined from floor to ceiling with shelves. Vance was not a collector of books, as I had been told. He was a collector of water. There are hundreds of glass jars lining the shelves, mason jars, apothecary bottles, large jugs the size of a man's torso. Each one is filled with water from the marsh outside. At first glance, they all look the same. Murky, gray fluid with sediment settling at the bottom. But as I catalogued them, tagging each with a small paper number, I noticed the differences. Jar number 42 contains water that swirls on its own, counterclockwise, though the shelf is perfectly still. Jar number 87 is cold to the touch, so cold that condensation freezes instantly on the glass. Yet the water inside does not turn to ice. Jar 103 holds something that looks like a shadow, suspended in the liquid. It does not dissolve. It turns to face me when I move across the room. I have stopped tagging the jars. I do not like touching them anymore. Yesterday, the fog rolled in. It has not left. It presses against the windows, a wall of white that eliminates the horizon. I can no longer see the marsh, or the wooden walkway, or the submerged road. There is only the house floating in a white void. I tried to listen to the radio I brought with me. All I found was static. But it wasn't the sharp, chaotic hiss of electrical interference. It was rhythmic. It sounded like breathing. In, out. In, out. I turned it off, but the rhythm stayed in my head. This morning I found salt in my bed sheets. It was coarse and gray, like the mud outside. I brushed it off, thinking I had tracked it in on my boots. But then I went to the mirror to wash my face. There was a crust of salt forming along my hairline. It clung to my eyelashes. I scrubbed it away, my skin raw and red underneath. But an hour later it returned. The house is getting inside me. The air here is so saturated with brine that it is crystallizing in my lungs. I cough, and I taste the ocean. I decided to leave early. I packed my bag and went to the front door, intending to wait on the porch for the tide to recede. I opened the door, but I did not step out. The porch is gone. There is no wood, no railing, no stairs leading down to the gravel. The doorway simply opens into the fog. I threw a book out into the white to see how far down the drop was. I never heard it hit the ground. There was no splash, no thud. The book simply vanished into the white, swallowed by the silence. I am not on an island anymore. I am not anywhere on a map. I retreated to the study. It feels like the safest place, perhaps because the jars are here. They belong to this place. If I stay close to them, perhaps the house will accept me. I spent the last hour staring at a large jar on the bottom shelf. It is labeled with a date, November 12th, 1924. The handwriting is jagged. Inside, the water is clear, unlike the others. Floating in the center of the jar is a pocket watch. It is suspended perfectly in the middle, sinking nor floating. I looked closer. The second hand on the watch is moving, but it is moving backward. I checked my own wristwatch. It has stopped. The hands have fallen off the face and lie in a heap at the bottom of the dial. Time does not flow here. It pools, it stagnates, like the water in the marsh. I feel a terrible thirst. I drank the bottled water I brought with me, but it tastes like dust. It does not satisfy the need. My body craves the salt. My eyes keep drifting to the jars. The gray water looks thick, nutritious. It looks like blood if blood were made of the sea. I hear footsteps upstairs. They are slow, heavy steps. Wet boots on dry wood. Squelch. Step. Squelch. Step. I am the only person in the house. I locked the study door, but the lock is rusted. It crumbled in my hand. I push the heavy desk against the door. The footsteps are on the stairs now. They are coming down. They do not hurry. They know I am here. They know there is nowhere else to go. The fog is seeping under the doorframe. It smells of iodine and ancient rotting kelp. I look at the jars. The water in all of them is agitated now. The shadow in jar 103 is thrashing against the glass. The freezing jar has cracked, a hairline fracture running down the side. The footsteps have stopped outside the door. There is no knock, no voice, just the sound of dripping water. A steady, rhythmic drip, drip, drip on the floorboards in the hallway. I realize now what Silas Vance was doing. He wasn't collecting water. He was preserving things. He was saving them from the change. Or perhaps he was preparing them. My skin feels hard. I look at my hands. The fingers are stiff. The joints are encased in a thin layer of white crystal. It is beautiful, in a way. It glimmers in the dim light of the lamp. I am not afraid anymore. The fear has crystallized, just like my skin. I feel only a vast, oceanic calm. The desk is sliding away from the door. I am not moving it. The pressure from the other side is immense, yet gentle. The door creaks open. The fog pours in, filling the room, cold and biting. I turn to face the jars. They are not just specimens. They are my company. I pick up an empty jar from the desk. It is large, enough to hold a great deal. I unscrew the lid. I place it on the floor. I understand now. The marsh does not want the house. It does not want the land. It wants to be known. It wants to be held. I sit in the chair and wait. The salt grows over my eyes, blurring the world into soft shapes of white and gray. The sound of the ocean is so loud now. It is inside my head. I am ready to be catalogued.